What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Garage Built Gear small medical pouch or small notebook pouch depending on your preferences. I happen to have this full of first aid gear, so I'm considering it a medical pouch, but with external dimensions of 7 inches tall by 5 inches wide, this can definitely accommodate multiple field notes as well as the writing accessories to go along with it. 3x5 notebooks, 4x6 notebooks, so definitely a viable option if you're just looking to carry small notebooks and the accessories to go along with it. Now, if you're not familiar with Garage Built Gear, these pouches are made entirely in the US and they typically use pretty durable materials. Things like 500D Cordura, 1000D Cordura, or waxed canvas, depending on the configuration you go with. Price point on these is $39, although I ended up getting mine during the Black Friday sale for $25, so definitely a steal for this. Really fell in love with the organization on here, which as you see when we get in the inside is super simple, which is why this works so well as a first aid kit. A lot of pouches made for EDC have a ton of small organization. It's broken up into a bunch of different slots and elastic loops and things like that. They can limit the carrying capacity for larger flat objects, which is what this is mostly loaded out with, so we'll see that in just a moment. So starting with the exterior, we already talked about the dimensions, 7 inches tall by 5 inches wide. We have an 1.5 inch tall strip of Velcro that runs the entire width of the pouch, and so a little bit small for your 2x3s, although you can slap them on there. It's just going to overlap the Cordura a little bit since the strip itself is only 1.5 inches tall and those 2x3s are obviously 2 inches tall, and so I elected to just throw some Ranger eyes on there. You can also just leave it blank. There is a color matched tag on most of these, so this is a black version, so we have the blacked out tag, and then one of these organization pockets that we see on so many pouches, and just like every other pouch that has this style of pocket on the exterior, it's extremely limited based on what you load out on the inside. The more you put in there, the tighter this pocket gets, so it's really only good for super flat items. And so for me, the only thing I ended up putting in there was one of these small Right in the Rain credit card size notebooks, and that's just in case I want to jot something down. You know, you witness a car accident, you want to write down the license plate, want to write down a phone number, any other notes. It's always nice to just have some paper on you, so shove that into the front pocket. Flipping over to the back, you can see completely plain, so no mounting options, no quick grab handle or anything like that we would typically see on a lot of these first aid kits. And so for me, that's a little bit of a positive. It cuts the footprint down a little bit, keeps it more compact, and since I'm just throwing this one in a bag, it just is a little bit cleaner for me. But I know a lot of people would prefer the option to mount this, especially if you're throwing it in a larger bag. Not having it gives the opportunity for this to get lost in a larger bag, and you want to be able to find this pretty quickly when you need it since it has your first aid gear in it. So kind of a give and take there. For me, it's a positive, but depending on your needs, that may or may not be. Now, clamshell style opening, YKK number 9 zipper on here. We have a paracord zipper pull with that vacuum seal on it, so it's going to be silent, nothing to rattle against, only a single zipper there. And so simple opening, we'll be able to see the entirety of the inside once we get that open, since it is that clamshell style opening. And the organization in here is super simple. I have it again loaded out with first aid gear. The feedback I've gotten in these videos is people like to see a realistic expectation of the type of items that can fit in those various pockets. So we're going to go through those quickly. This isn't really an in-depth look at the first aid kit I put together, so not going to spend a lot of time on any individual item, and then we'll talk about the measurements of the 4 interior pockets. So starting on the left side, over on the left we have the My Medic pen light. This has the pocket clip to turn it on and off, not super bright because it's for measuring the diameter of pupils. And so you can see there's a pupil gauge on here showing how many millimeters each size is, and so that was a really nice addition from Medic Box pretty recently. Next to that, I have my writing instrument. This is a stainless steel, I believe, Sharpie. And so it has a regular Sharpie on the inside, just a stainless steel body so it doesn't get crushed on you. I think the company that made this went out of business, so not even going to mention that here, but just a nice writing instrument. Obviously a pen would work better with the notebook that I have in there, but the advantage of having a permanent marker is you can write on other surfaces, including people's like hands and arms and stuff like that if you need to. So elected to go with a Sharpie rather than your typical pen. Right next to that, we have one of these pre-built rescue essential kits with medications, wipes, and hand sanitizer, things like that, sting relief pads, burn gel, and all of that. And I think this one came from a Going Gear built like this. I definitely didn't purchase it, so it came from some sort of subscription box, but pretty nice little pre-built kit, and I just like the form factor. It fit into this kit perfectly. Behind that, we have a chest seal, and so this is the hyphen vent twin pack chest seal, and this was another recent addition from that medic box, and that fits perfectly into that back pocket, which a lot of the smaller kits you have to kind of fold the edges over, which is a little bit of a pain, and so it's nice that this one just slots right in there without having to fold it up too much. That's all we have on the left side. Again, well, before we get into the measurements, we're going to go through what's on the right. We have this small pair of shears from Meritac, just a small little pair that glows in the dark. Unfortunately, inside the pouch, it's not going to be charged, so you won't be able to take advantage of that glow in the dark, but still nice. And that was the only handle option I had in there, which is why I put the glow in the dark one in there. We also have the New Stat hemostatic dressing, 4 inches by 4 inches. This has a hemostatic agent in there to basically clot the blood and stop the bleed. And so I paired that with some duct tape, mainly because it gives us a little bit of additional functionality and it's flat rather than having a roll of medical tape or something like that. This one is nice and flat, and in the event we need it, pretty easy to replace and can be used again for other purposes. Duct tape has 1,000,001 uses. So that's the front pocket. Behind that, just have this section of different shapes and sizes of band-aids, just in case you need those kind of small boo-boo type things. And this isn't something that's like pre-sold. I just took them from a band-aid kit that I had and shoved that in there into a bag. Right behind that, we have the Victorinox Swiss Card Light, which is a little bit of a weird choice here, but I really wanted to include a pair of tweezers, and this also has the toothpick, a small little pen blade if you need that, a pair of scissors, and a magnifying glass with another option for that small light as well. And so it just gives us a lot of functionality in this really small footprint that's completely flat, so works perfectly for this kit. I actually originally had a Victorinox SD in here and ended up swapping it out for the Swiss Card Light. Behind that, the last item in this pouch is this pack of moleskins, and so you can see this is kind of a variety sheet with a bunch of different styles. I also have the ones where it's just a full sheet and you cut out the shape that you want, but I pretty much always carry moleskins anytime I'm going to like events, things like that, where I'm going to be walking a lot, hikes, because blisters are a pain and they're very, very annoying, and moleskins help so much, and so I like having moleskins on me, which is why that is the last item to round out the kit. Now, looking at these various pockets, you can see pretty simple, identical on both sides, and I think that's perfect for this style of kit. Like I said earlier, with EDC pouches, we would have had 1,000 little elastic loops, which definitely wouldn't hurt here since they wouldn't affect these front or back pockets, so wouldn't have minded seeing those elastic loops. But what I'm really glad is that they didn't divide these by sewing a divider into the middle and really cutting off the amount of space, because a lot of the items that I put in here wouldn't have fit in that style of pouch with those dividers. So really love the layout on here. Now, as far as the size of each of these pockets, obviously pretty much everything I put in there went over the total length of the pocket, so doesn't actually matter. Just know that you have about 6.5 inches or so of usable space upwards, and then about 4.5 inches in width. Because of those seams, it does cut into that 7x5. And then the height of the pockets, not that it matters because you can put taller items, 3.5 inches on that front pocket, about 4.5 inches on the back pocket. So really great medical pouch at that price point, $25. I think it's a steal, no-brainer for a medical pouch. At $39, I also think it's a really solid option. I love the layout on it. Even though it's super simple, it just works really well. But that does open the opportunity to check out some other pouches. There's a ton of pouches in that $39 price point, so you have a lot of really great options. But $25 for a USA made pouch, again, thought that one was a no-brainer. Let me know what you think of this one down in the comments below. As usual, if you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, joining the channel as a member, or checking out some of my other videos. They all help the channel out a ton, and I hope you have a great one. Take care.